are live, 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. It's early this morning, folks, 6:35 a.m., and we are live on a Sunday. Protecting military families with Chris Brochu, 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Casey Kurtz with you as well. Chris, how you doing, man?
Casey, good morning. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Good call. I wouldn't have thought of that, so.
I know you're not a mother, but to all the mothers out there, I hope that you have a phenomenal day.
There you go. That's definitely a good thing to say. We got a lot to do. Usually we do this, but this time we're doing it live, so we're going to give you an opportunity to jump in on the conversation in just a second. But, Chris, let's just give the people for the next hour, what are they going to be hearing? What do you have planned to talk about today, and what do you want the people to jump in with if they need your help?
Absolutely. I think the most common questions that I receive are ones that we really need to cover. And obviously I want to hear from our local military community and local military families. If you have a question, legal question, or question about your military benefits, please call in. Please let us know what they are. You can send your question to case@brochulaw.com, or Casey will give you the dial-in number. But today is just going to be about military, the most common military questions that I receive about their legal rights and benefits, and hopefully we can answer some of those. I've gotten some great feedback about the Brochu Law second opinion that we rolled out, so I think it's going to be a great show. Hopefully we'll have more of these live ones to answer as many questions as possible. We're also batting around the idea of doing a town hall style question and answer about legal rights and benefits, so that may be coming in the near future. But until then, if you want to give everybody the dial-in number, and we can get everything going.
Absolutely. So if you have a question for Chris, think he can help you out, go ahead and give us a call. The number is 855-765-1045. So if you usually listen to the WOKV, I'm sure you know that number. But if you're just listening to Chris and you only listen to this program, give him a call right now, 855-765-1045. Chris, you started talking about it a little bit. Brochu Law second opinion. Just go ahead, assume that people don't know what that is, never heard the show before. Go ahead and tell them what that is and what you guys do for military families with second opinions.
Second opinion is similar to in any other capacity, any other industry where you get it may not be a quote, but maybe you get a final amount, or somebody tells you, all right, this is the most that you can receive, right? The Brochu Law second opinion is simply, my family has filed for these benefits, or these are, our legal claims. Is there anything more that we're leaving on the table? What my firm does is I'll screen, and depending on when the individual served, right? So if somebody was a Korean War veteran versus somebody coming back from Iraq, the benefits available to them may be drastically different. But what I do is I'll screen, figure out what types of claims are available, and if that military family has exhausted those claims. So I can report to you in the last week or so, we've had a lot of success. I should say probably the last several weeks. So, but we've had at least 8 military families that we got a veteran increased for their VA disability. Obviously, that's all results vary, but that's something good to report back. And so what we do is, if somebody has, let's say, a current, we'll just make it easy. A lot of veterans know about VA disability, or at least have heard of VA disability compensation. So that's usually a starting point. The military family will contact us, and they'll say, okay, great, my spouse is at 60%. Is that all they're entitled to? We'll review it. We'll figure out if they included all of the types of medical injuries on their original claim, see if there's something that they didn't include, and then we'll see if there's something that they should have been paid for that maybe was denied. And that's usually a good starting point. And then depending on when the individual served or how long they served, we could tell you if you are eligible for, possible TSGLI, which pays out up to $100,000 per claim. Obviously, there are a number of years where certain service members would have 3M claims, terrorism claims, really anything. So anybody that served after, probably a safe year to put on there. But anybody that's now serving, say 2017 through present day, the Military Lending Act has increased its protections for military families. So financial institutions, credit card companies, certain automobile loans where you have things included in the purchase price that don't relate to the actual purchase of the vehicle, right? So one of those types of claims would be protected under the Military Lending Act, where you're paying for something that has nothing to do with the purchase of a vehicle. But basically, what Military Lending Act is, it protects families against usurious interest rates. So, the federal law mandates or requires a specific interest rate, and if a company failed to comply with that, we can get military families out of those, or service members out of those contracts, get premiums refunded. We can get amounts back to the family based off of what their damages are, right? So there are statutory damages or other types of damages. And the other part is the service member and their family, they don't pay us anything up front. In any of these cases, we take them all contingent, no fee unless we win. We advance all costs on behalf of the military families. But if we can get, a result, then the other side has to pay our attorney's fees and costs. So it's a huge benefit. And at the very least, make sure that the companies that you're dealing with are complying with federal law. Make sure that your family is receiving all of the benefits that you're entitled to. And a lot of the families that call me, they're just trying to explore and make sure that they haven't missed something.
Absolutely. And you said at the beginning of the show, obviously you can call in. We'll give you that number in just a second, but case@brochulaw.com. That's where we've been telling people to email you and get in contact with you if they need your help. By the way, the phone number is 855-765-1045. We are live right now. So if you want to talk to Chris, go ahead and give us a call. We'll get you on the air with him. But case@brochulaw.com, you started it. I shouldn't say we. You started it right around the time we started the show. Tell me about some of the stuff you've been getting in that inbox. Has that been helpful? Have people been reaching out to you? And if they have, what have they been asking you about?
A lot of military families have reached out. I think that, obviously we're pretty early here on a Sunday morning. So even if we don't get a call in, which, is fine, my phone rings off the hook during normal business hours. So we'll talk about some of those. The first one that stands out in my mind is local Northeast Florida veteran gave me a call, served for 20 years, and basically what our discussion entailed was, if you served in Iraq and Afghanistan, you have, or you may be eligible, and you were likely paying premiums for this insurance coverage called TSGLI. It's their traumatic injury rider to service members group life insurance. And essentially, TSGLI for eligible families, you can receive up to $100,000 in compensation. The federal statute that governs and sort of created the rules for TSGLI are, really vast, and it covers a lot of different topics. But basically, if you were paying premiums for TSGLI, so any family that was paying premiums for service member group life insurance was automatically covered under TSGLI. So that's the first prong. The second prong is you were injured in a traumatic event after October 7th, 2001. So again, after October 7th, 2001, You were injured in a traumatic event. Traumatic event under the federal statute covers physical bodily harm. So it's got to be some physical force against the service member. And again, the only eligible service members would have been ones that were paying premiums for TSGLI. So if you look at your leave and earnings statement from after October 7th, 01, you'd see $29 coming out. You'd see $28 going to service member group life insurance and $1 going to TSGLI. And it covers, active duty, National Guard, reservists, one-day muster duty. Essentially, anybody that was injured on duty or off duty. So think training accident, any combat-related accident. There are obviously many different types. And then civilian accidents, trucking accidents, auto accidents, motorcycle accidents, ATV accidents. And they essentially, so you're paying premiums, you get into a traumatic event. When I say traumatic event, think of an on-duty or off-duty accident. If within 2 years of that accident, you suffer what's called a qualifying loss. When I say qualifying loss, just think of injury. That's how you could have a potential TSGLI claim. And the injuries are broad and they're pages upon pages worth of qualifying injuries, from paralysis to sensory loss, so loss of eyesight, hearing, facial fracture, facial reconstruction. Those are under the same. Burns, loss of limb, loss of 4 fingers on one hand, loss of a thumb. And then there are several others related to paralysis, limb loss, limb salvage, 15-day inpatient hospitalization. So if you had an injury that required you to be hospitalized for at least 15 consecutive days, that would entitle you to $25,000. But there's this kind of large catch-all where, a lot of people fit, and it's called inability to perform activities of daily living. So if you have an accident where you're unable to perform activities of daily living for at least 30 consecutive days, and we'll get into what activities of daily living are and some of those things, then you may be entitled to $25,000 for every 30 days up to the maximum of 120 days. So 30 days equals 25,000, 60 days, 50,000, 90 days would be 75,000, 120 days would be 100,000 in compensation per traumatic event. And the injury or the qualifying loss has to occur within 2 years of the traumatic event, right? So the question, getting back to your original question,
all good.
That's what I've been seeing a lot of. Is I'll get a call and we chat about some different things, and then a question comes up about TSGLI. Oh, my buddy told me that you told him about that, or I saw, on social media somewhere that you were talking about TSGLI. And it's one of those types of legal claims where people are paying for premiums and they don't necessarily know what their premium's going towards, if they know that they're paying for it at all, right? They know that they're paying for service member group life insurance, but maybe not TSGLI. So we talked through some of those questions, and in these particular cases, basically what happens is, the service member's like, well, I had surgery related to this accident. So obviously it's a significant injury, right? If you have surgery. And basically what ADL loss, or inability to perform activities of daily living, this federal statute says you have to require assistance for at least 30 days. And, you have to get a doctor to sign off on that. And I'm going to have a second episode dedicated to strictly TSGLI, and we'll get into all the nitty gritty about all the stuff that you need. You need to fill out a form 8600, and your attorney can help you fill out the Part A, or you can complete it yourself. And then a qualifying medical professional can fill out the Part B and kind of what that form is. But basically, the federal statute under TSLGI recognizes 6 activities of daily living: bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, continence or incontinence, and eating. And all of those, you can break down those from these categories of, okay, so under bathing, what is it? Well, you need to, it's required that somebody either provide physical, standby, or verbal assistance, right? Getting in and out of the bathtub, helping you in and out of the shower, helping you bathe 2 or more portions of your body, right? So your head and maybe each leg or maybe your back and a limb. And the statute in the form 8600 that you fill out, they break down all of this. But if you can prove that you couldn't perform at least two of those 6 ADLs, those activities of daily living, for a period of 30 days or more, that's how you would be entitled. That's how you unlock that compensation. And unlike a VA claim, where you submit it to the VA and you have one entity, you have different regional offices, but one entity over reviewing it. TSLGI is different. So if you served in the Navy, we submit your claim to the Navy. If you served in the Army, we submit it to the Army. So every branch has their own personnel that screen and adjudicate these claims, that review them. They've got their own medical examiners. Obviously, the higher up it gets, because they're administrative in nature, if you continue to appeal the person that you originally submitted to at the Navy, it now is going up the chain until you exhaust your appeals. And that's why I take these cases all over the country. I'm licensed in Florida to practice law, but under the federal rules, with local counsel, I can practice, and obviously with special permission from a court, I can practice anywhere across the country. But with these administrative type claims, especially with my VA accreditation, as long as you're accredited with the VA, you can take VA cases. With the TSLGI ones, as long as you're an attorney, you have the ability to represent in front of any of these military branches across the country. So we've got clients all over the country, and that's usually, I've got clients every week that I'm getting a call from their brother, from their dad, from their spouse. So it's been an interesting several years informing our military families about their rights, because the more information we provide, the more people seem to be eligible.
Absolutely. This is 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk Live on a Sunday morning, protecting military families with Chris Brochu. Casey Kurtz with you as well. We're back in the 7 o'clock hour as well. So if you have a question, be sure to call it in 855-765-1045, or you can email Chris, Case, C-A-S-E, at brochulaw.com, B-R-O-C-H-U law.com. You can go back and listen to any of the episodes we've done. Chris mentioned it, talking about the VA. He talked about his VA accreditation and what that can do and what he can do with that information. So you can go back and listen, WOKV.com, or on Chris's website. There's a video version of every episode, thanks to our guy, Justin, with Nova Production. So you can go back and find that on Chris's website, or listen to an audio-only version of the show on WOKV.com. Chris, about 2 minutes before we go to break, 2 or 3 here, but if people are listening, obviously what the main thing you do is protect military families and help them out. But for civilian families listening, can you help them as well? And if you can, what can you do for them in just a quick little synopsis?
Absolutely. The main areas where I protect all consumers and injured people have to do with consumer and injury claims. So, obviously your auto accidents, your premises liability. There are a number of different products claims. I mean, I helped a Navy veteran with an RV, defective RV that he was struggling with. He had called me about some issues with his RV that we were able to help him with. But yeah, anything from, I mean, if you've got a company that's calling your phone, trying to advertise to you and solicit their services, especially if you have a 904 phone number or you live in Florida, give us a call. There's a new Florida law out there that prohibits that unless they have your prior express written consent. If you've got somebody that's been severely injured, or even if you just have a question about some type of personal injury case, some sort of life insurance denial. I mean, those are the big ones, are the injury cases, any of the consumer stuff. So if you know of a company that's ripping you off or ripping somebody else off, tell us about it. We want to make our community aware of it so that nobody else gets scammed. And if there's something that we can do about it, we'll file a lawsuit, because at the end of the day, the primary goal is, the more informed our society is about their rights, the more we can protect against some of these predatory individuals and companies. And the life insurance delays and denials, I mean, we talk about all the time. Here's the 2-minute or less pitch, if you will, for those that haven't heard us talk about it before. If you submit a death certificate and a claim for life insurance benefits, and the life insurance company does not pay you within 30 days, red flag, red flag, red flag. You need to investigate that, and you may want to even speak with an attorney about it. That's usually the amount of time it takes for them to decide a claim. So figure out if you've got one of those. We screen them all on a contingent fee basis, even the civilian claims we do. So we just have a lot of different claims that are only available to military families. So, that's a majority of what we do, but there are a ton of civilian claims as well. So no fee unless we win. We advance all costs. Feel free to give us a call, send us an email, and we're happy to help you.
Absolutely, yeah. So like Chris said, give us a call, 855-765-1045. We're here until 7:30. We're going to hit a quick break, but when we come back, we got more to do right here on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. And we are back, the 7 o'clock hour, 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We are protecting military families on 104.5 WOKV with Chris, Brochu, Casey Kurtz with you as well. If you missed the first hour, missed any of the shows we've done so far, go back and listen. WOKV.com, as well as on Chris's website, brochulaw.com, if you want to spell it out.
Yeah, I usually do spell it out. People have been mispronouncing and misspelling my name since I was, a kid. So I liked it. I know it's one of those things though. You just take it off the chin, but they always add in like an E or an extra R. But it's phonetically Bravo, Romeo, Oscar, Charlie, Hotel, Umbrella. So Bravo, Romeo, Oscar, Charlie, Hotel, Umbrella, Brochu, Brochu Law. And if you have any question at all, my consultation is always free, so I'm not going to, nickel and dime you on the front end at all. I mean, the only way we get paid is if we can help. So there's no fee unless we win. So feel free to give us a call, send us an email. I know it's pretty early. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers listening, and I hope you all have a fun and safe day. But Casey, what else do you want to hit today for our military families?
Yeah. First of all, as Chris said, happy Mother's Day. But if you have a question for him, go ahead and call him in right now, 855 877-665-1045. We are live, so go ahead. Give us a call if you are a military family, have a question for Chris, I should say. Also, a video stream on Chris's website. He just told you, thanks to our guy, Justin at Nova Productions. Also, if you just want to call Chris, like not right now, like during business hours, 904-201-1771. So a lot of numbers, a lot of people, but the point of the story is if you need help, Chris is going to help you. We were talking in the last segment there, Chris, and you were saying, and you've told me a lot about this, that you are constantly talking to people that might not understand the benefits they actually have or they're entitled to that they're not using. How often does somebody call or email or whatever and you talk to them and you're like, well, you might be eligible for this and this, and they're like, oh, I had no idea. Like you're telling them information they didn't previously know.
It's most calls. I mean, I don't want to say it's all. I mean, sometimes we don't get into anything else, but I could tell you, depending on the date of service or the type of question, it usually leads into other potential claims, especially for military families. So the types of questions that I receive, especially ones related to military families, usually lead into other legal areas that are oftentimes only available to military families. So I know a lot of the stuff that we talk about relates to civilian families and military families, but there are a lot of federal laws that are only applicable to our service members or only applicable to our military families. So, those are the ones that we like to broadcast. I don't, obviously I don't think it's intentional on the government's part or anyone else's part. I think it's just there's so much information out there and there's so many different laws and benefits. And, it's one of those things where that's what I love about my job. I love informing people about their rights, in more details, and I like helping people. So I think that primarily it's just kind of closing that information gap and trying to inform military families about what's available. And I think, depending on when the veteran served or what claim they have, it usually leads into other questions. And usually it's related to something that they may be entitled to. So I would say the one common theme that I always receive is not only do I love representing military families because they're incredible, right? The amount of sacrifices that military families undergo or deal with on a daily basis, it's incredible. I mean, it truly is remarkable, and it's a group of Americans that not only do they fight for our country, but they almost feel guilty when they call me. And my advice to them is always, well, if you're too proud to do it for you, that's fine, but do it for your family. You wouldn't be too proud if you got into an auto accident. You wouldn't be too proud to file a claim with your insurance company. I mean,
Sure.
if your roof got blown off in a hurricane, you wouldn't be too proud to file a claim. I mean, the government, and I don't want to, make waves, but the government understands that when you enter military service, your life could be, depending on the types of experiences you have, it could physically or mentally turn out different than if you just stayed a civilian your whole life, which is why, you have all of these different benefits and eligibility, and you've earned it. That's the big point, is you've earned it. And in cases of TSLGI, I mean, you're paying for it. It's not any different from if you had insurance and you're paying for property damage and bodily injury coverage. So that's really what we're trying to do, is just inform families about their rights, and that's usually the most common example, right? You've got somebody paying for service member group life insurance, and they have no idea that they have traumatic injury coverage available. And the equivalent would be they get into an auto accident and they have a property damage claim, and they had no idea that they could also file a claim for their injuries, but they were paying for the same coverage. They just had no idea. So that's where we're really closing the information gap and trying to help.
Yeah, it's well done. Absolutely. We shouldn't assume everyone's listened to the first half of the show because people are just jumping in, going to Mother's Day brunch, going to church, something like that. What you guys do at your law firm, the Brochu Law Second Opinion, just real quick, I know we talked about it a lot in the first segment, but if somebody is jumping in right now and they're like, oh, what is that? Go ahead and just let the people know once again what you do for military families with the Second Opinion.
Sure. The Second Opinion is it's simply taking a look and making sure that military families aren't leaving benefits on the table that they're entitled to, that they don't have a legal claim to file that, again, is leaving compensation on the table. So similar to really anything in life, if you I don't know, if you had a car that needed some work done and you went to one person and they said, okay, we can charge you X, or you went and they said, okay, I think this is a total loss, or you received some medical news that was unfavorable, but you thought that there was other treatment available or something like that. We offer it in the same way. So we want you to send it in. Send us your rating decisions. Send us your denial letters. Send us everything that you need help with, and let us take a look. It's free to you. You're not you're not our client until we decide to work together, and we enter into a fee agreement. And obviously, at that time, then the only way that we get paid is if you get paid. But for us to review and see if there's anything else on the table or anything else available, it's a free consultation. So send us, your financial documents that show what your interest rates are. Obviously it's, but if you're concerned that a company is ripping you off, give us a call. If you're concerned that there are benefits that you're leaving on the table, give us a call. If you've got the VA has told you that, hey, this is the most you can ever get, right? You're at 10%, 20%, 50% impairment rating. Maybe you're at 100 and you think that there are other types of benefits available to you. Give us a call. Maybe you're not getting the assistance from your VSO like you thought you would, or your county rep. And don't get me wrong, there are some phenomenal county reps and VSOs, just like there are bad attorneys. There are organizations and people that are better than others. If you've got somebody that's not helping you, give us a call. Let us know if there's something you want us to take a look at. Make sure that you're not leaving benefits on the table. And if if you're concerned with fighting the red tape or going back into dealing with a lot of the bureaucracy type experiences that I think a lot of people are hesitant to deal with, that's what we're here for. We don't force you to do anything. We're going to be your mouthpiece, and we're going to be the ones that are dealing with jumping through all the hoops and forms, and basically you're going to be talking to us. We just need you to be available to have that discussion. But like I said earlier, we've helped in just 2020 alone. A lot of military families get increases for VA disability. I helped a family in the Panhandle with a service member group life insurance claim that had been ongoing for 2 years, where they paid the ex-spouse, and that was a great result that we got for my client, who is the widow of a deceased airman and his mother. We've got other ones that we've assisted with TSLGI. Again, we'll have another episode on that, but the traumatic injury coverage, we're always screening military family cases to see if there are any benefits on the table. So one that I really want to talk about is the nicest guy, this veteran local to the area. He's Clay County veteran. Also former police officer. He's a great guy. Gave me a call and he said, Chris, you know what I loved about, he had heard one of my previous shows, and he was talking about the Brochu Law second opinion. And he said, one of the things that I really, really loved about it is there are so many veterans out here that, similar to this gentleman, served in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, came home, they did their tours, came back, and not necessarily wanted to leave it all behind, but was at a point in his life where him and his family wanted to move on from dealing with any hoops to jump through and red tape. But for years, this veteran told me about how it was always kind of in the back of his mind, how, he wasn't sure if he should file a claim. He wasn't sure what, he had available to him. And just to kind of preface that a little bit too, obviously, my firm, we help with appeals. We help once an individual has filed a VA disability claim. So we're going to point you in the right. If you haven't filed one, we'll show you where the form is. We'll show you where to submit that to turn it in. But where we come in and where we're able to assist is on the appeal. So once you have a decision back, right, they tell you, hey, you're at 0% or you're at name a percentage, right? And what this veteran told me that I really admired was that he was curious, but he just didn't want the hassle anymore. He is at peace in his life now and doesn't want to get back into it. But he said that why he liked the idea of getting back into it is because he can just hire me and I'll do it for him.
Right.
And the only way that he's got to pay me is if I get him something. I mean, if at the end of the day I don't, get an increased rating and there's no back pay, veteran owes me nothing, right? So I think that that conversation and that veteran in particular was talking about a group of veterans that maybe they didn't serve in combat, or maybe they did and they don't want the hassle anymore. And they know that they've got these benefits or this compensation available, but maybe they don't want to take on the VA, right? There's some people are super gung-ho about it, and they're like, forget an attorney, forget any of these organizations. I'm taking them on myself. I mean, that's admirable. But for those that, aren't necessarily trying to do that or learn an entire federal code, give us a call. And at the very least, at least now you know what your rights are.
Absolutely. And if you want to give him a call, 904-201-1771 during business hours, he will get back to you and help you with that. Chris, we've talked about this a few times, and I don't know why this just popped in my head. This might be a very quick yes or no, but we talk about a lot military families that don't know benefits they're leaving on the table and they get the second opinion from you. But do you ever have it where like somebody comes in and is like, hey, I went to the doctor and they told me I'm okay, but I don't feel okay. Like, I think there's more here. Do you ever deal with that where it's like, okay, let's get you a second opinion that something might be more wrong than they're telling you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you went to a doctor that was paid by an insurance company, right, after an auto accident, which is very common in auto accident litigation, right? You go for a CME with a doctor that's paid by an insurance company. I mean, they're going to be like, Casey, you're in tip-top shape, and you're like, I just got crushed by an 18-wheeler, right?
Yeah.
It's somewhat similar, right? With VA disability compensation, you've got to advocate for yourself, and a lot of veterans are tough. They're not going to maybe elicit the type of information or go into as much detail as their advocate would, right? And that's where I come in, because this is what I do for work. They can give me the runaround all they want, but that's what I do every day. So I'm prepared for it, and I'm not talking about the VA here. I mean, I'm talking about any company in general. I mean, they're ones that prey on our military families, and that's who we like to go after. We like to even the playing field, and there are a lot of great families out there that are getting taken advantage of and don't know about their rights. So those are the families we're trying to help. So.
Absolutely. This is 104.5 WOKV Jacksonville's News and Talk, protecting military families with Chris Brochu. Go back and listen to any part of the show that you missed, WOKV.com, or a video stream of the show, thanks to Justin and Nova Productions, on Chris's website. Chris, you were telling me about something in the break a little bit. You said we can talk about a little bit, but not a ton, in terms of something in Hawaii, I do believe. I don't want to give out too information that I shouldn't, so... you think it's interesting, so I'm pretty sure I'll find it interesting because everything you talk about to me is interesting. So go ahead and give me a little bit of that, what you were telling me, what you can say on the radio.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I'm hesitant to discuss, the details is I don't think that they're publicly available yet. But what I do know is that a base in Hawaii was recently deemed to have something going on with the water supply. I don't know if it's similar to a Camp Lejeune type scenario where there's fuel leaking into the water supply, but something's going on. And it started with a family. They had 2 small children that had been hospitalized with a certain illness, and I guess they attributed it back to drinking this poisoned water. But I don't know. I can't get into too many details about it because I don't think that they're out there yet. But what I know is that they evacuated a lot of civilians and military from this area in Hawaii, and why it really kind of resonated with me is that there's a new law that's passed the House, and I think it's in the committee with the Senate right now. It's called Honoring Our Pact Act, and basically what a portion of that, and it's a I don't need to tell any of the listeners, anybody that reads any of our federal codes or statutes or knows any of the laws. I mean, they're really, really comprehensive. But there's a portion of the Honoring Our Pact Act that I find really interesting, and what it does is it hasn't passed into law yet. So if it does, we're going to dedicate an entire episode. If you have any questions about Camp Lejeune water exposure, anybody that served at Camp Lejeune, military family, civilian, or you were, a child of a service member who served there, you're a spouse. If you were conceived and you're in the womb when somebody was serving there, those would all be individuals that we'd be happy to speak with and provide a free consultation. We can also put you on kind of our short list if this statute does pass, because those people would all have potential claims. What's really interesting about the Honoring Our Pact Act, if it passes, it would be the first of its kind, or one of the first of its kind, that would allow military families to file a private right of action in federal court for this toxic water exposure. So the allegations, and again, I don't want to get into too many details, and especially because I know that this is evolving, but essentially the allegations are that for a number of decades, from the 50s to the late 80s, if you served at Camp Lejeune or any of the surrounding, areas for a certain period of time, you might have been exposed to this toxic water. So they had fuel that was leaking into the water supply, and I don't want to get into the details about how long it took to uncover and why there were hurdles there, but basically, the important thing to know is that this new act would finally allow a military family to get the justice they deserve, because right now, you're allowed to get VA disability compensation and medical and some of these things that are now considered connected to certain time periods, right? Like Agent Orange and Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. So if this bill passes, you'd be allowed to file a lawsuit in federal court. The district is in North Carolina federal court. There, in each state, there are, different federal courts. So you could file it in in the district that they've designated in federal court in North Carolina. And again, it would cover anybody that you'd have to have been at Camp Lejeune for a specific amount of time, but anybody that was a civilian, a child, a dependent, a spouse, a service member, anybody that was drinking that water during those time periods. And I've got a feeling there are a lot of people that could be affected by that. I mean, there could be people that were in utero that are living today with medical complications, and they don't know why. It's not genetic, right? It's not something that their family knows about. So,
absolutely. Good information right there. If you missed any of it, go back and listen, WOKV.com or Chris's website, brochulaw.com. Spell it quickly for me.
Bravo, Romeo, Oscar, Charlie, Hotel, Umbrella. That's just for ease of being able to spell it. So.
Yeah, I just don't want to mess it up, throw it to you. You know it by heart. It's your name, right? So we
Sure.
appreciate you joining us, protecting military families. We are back next week. Until next time, check out Chris's website. Email him, case@brochulaw.com if you need him. Appreciate you listening. Have a good Mother's Day, everybody.